いてら銀紙の星が揺れてら誰もがポケットの中に
Sports anime is something really close and dear to my heart. Some of the earliest manga I read was sports. Like, it's a really easy entry path for a lot of people into the genre. And there is one sports mangaka who stands above all others. Mitsuru Adachi. Mitsuru Adachi has been writing since 1972, I believe. And is basically considered by a lot to be a master because he genuinely is. And Cross Game for me is that series, right? Cross Game and Rough are the two series by Adachi that hit me the hardest. And so I wanted to share that with my friend Pac. And so we watched Cross Game.
Yes, we did. Mitsuru Adachi.
This was your first experience with an Adachi series, correct?
It was, and the rumors I had heard about him, he certainly lives up to his reputation. We all thought, you think that George R.R. Martin is the most sadistic man out there in fiction. Or maybe the writers for The Walking Dead when their ratings start dropping. But no, this man's a psychopath. And while you can say that sports anime, which for any of our fans who've watched Major will know, there's a running gag. There's a running gag in shonen manga, sports or otherwise, which is, oh no, the main character needs some development. Every close friend or family member starts running for their lives because the author is going to pick one for.
Yeah, and sports manga even more so, I find, than like other genres, tends to be a genre with absent parents or just outright parents dying. Major, Goro loses his mother from dying disease and then loses his father from getting hit in the head with a ball real fast.
I mean, think about it this way. Yukihira Soma from Food Wars, his mum dies
from dying disease.
From dying disease, and his dad abandons him into the wolves so he can learn the Darwinian way. Like, seriously. Like,
yeah, there is a bit of a Darwinian element to Soma's father's approach to his development.
Then again, he only does it because he knows Soma can handle it.
But see, it's not just that genre, right? Like, it's not just a once-off. It's not just Major, right? There's so many other sports manga. Mitsuru Adachi, almost every single one of his series has someone die. H2, Cross Game, Rough, you name it, has someone get either grievously injured or hurt or dead. You know, it's a recurring theme. He even got asked in a French interview about why he keeps killing off characters, and he said, because death is a part of life, and I tell coming of age stories and slice of life, therefore people gonna die.
Yeah.
Obviously, he said it in much more flowing prose and beautiful ways. I don't think he said it as casually as I just put it, but that's just yeah.
Then again, both of us have lived lives where a lot of our close friends and family have died. So I think it's a bit more.
Grief.
I'm on, like, I don't know, 5 family members and 3 friends at this point. I don't know, like,
I've got no grandparents. I've lost a lot of friends. Like, it's tough out here, folks. It's tough out here.
It makes sense that people die, but, like, I feel like the thing is, right, in fiction...
So we're just getting straight into it here. We're not even... intro fiction, over, like, we're talking about this.
We're talking about this. So, Cross Game is... like 90% of Japanese sports manga and anime about baseball.
Hell yeah, it is about baseball because Mitsuru Adachi knows how to write one thing, and it's baseball stories.
He likes baseball. I mean,
he likes baseball. Who would have thought? He's only written like 6 different baseball manga.
And this one is generally considered, like, from what I've seen, this one is generally considered one of his best, I think.
Yeah, so generally speaking, the debate amongst, like, the manga readers, obviously there's a bit of a difference with the anime, because with anime comes issues. You know, with manga, it's at the end of the day, it comes down to the assistants and to the mangaka, right? There's not, and maybe a little bit of blame on the editor, right? If you make a good product, it's generally considered to be a product of those people. But when you introduce an anime, there's a lot more that can go wrong, right? It's why I don't believe that there will ever probably be a perfect anime. You can get close, but I haven't seen one yet, okay? Even Cross Games anime isn't my favorite. But yes, amongst Adachi fans, generally the debate is either Touch, H2, or Cross Game. Touch being his very early 1980s series about baseball, which is very much of the time. If you read Touch, remember it was written in the 1980s in Japan. Okay, H2.
I'm pretty sure if you're an anime fan, you just have to get used to, unless you're watching.
No.
Shows,
there's one thing. There's one, like, it's not like a sexual thing or anything like that. There's actually like a legitimate scene that is like actually discomforting as someone living in 2020. Or like, you will literally read it and, whoa, why did he do that? Oh my god. But yeah, so Touch, pretty great series. I love the characters, very well written, has aged poorly in some regards, but still holds up as a very good story. H2 probably got some of the best dramatic moments in anything he's written, and I think Cross Game is the most consistent from start to finish. There's issues with the anime, we'll talk about that as we get into it. His hidden classic, Rough, which no one ever talks about. Please read Rough, please. And then come and DM me on Twitter or on, I don't know, AnyList. Like, come and talk to me about it. I love Rough. It's so good and no one talks about it because it's 40 years old.
I love the fact that, like, the character designs from H2 to Cross Game, he basically just doesn't change them.
That's because he hasn't changed his art style since the 1980s. And do you know what? Good. I love his art style. He draws beautiful backgrounds, but yes, all the characters look pretty much exactly the same.
Yeah, so...
you should never binge read or binge watch anything by Adachi, because you will be like, I can't keep these characters straight. They all look the same. That guy looks like the protag of the last series, but he's not the main character here. And that guy looks like the protag of the other series, and blah, 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 blah.
The protag of Cross Game, Ko, and the protag of H2 look literally identical. It's just Ko is younger.
Yeah. H2,
literally identical.
H2, very funny series. Also, canonically, according to Adachi, Hiro, who is the protag of H2, is the best pitcher he has ever written. Much to my disgust, because I love Ko and I'm a Ko fanboy. So I'd say that's a pretty good introduction to what Cross Game is. But yes, Cross Game right out the gate, especially when... Okay, so to explain, the first volume of the manga, the first episode of the anime, basically compresses Ko's childhood.
Yeah.
We see what Ko's life is like. We see his childhood friends, Alba and Wakaba. Wakaba being the oldest sister, well, sort of second sister, Alba being the third, and Momoji being the third.
Yeah, and then you've got their big sister, which is not his friend, but is One-chan, and ripping out One-chan vibes. So she gets the best girl point from me straight out the gate.
She's so good. I love her.
She's so good, and
even
her
though
relationship,
I'm currently
which we'll talk
blanking
about
on her
later.
name.
the relationship she gets into later is probably my favorite.
Ichiyo.
About
Ichiyo. Yeah, Ichiyo. Tsukishima.
Ichiyo and her relationship with the other
manager.
characters. Yeah, look, Ichiyo is excellent. I love Ichiyo. But yeah, and the thing about... Okay, so it shows his early life, and it's a pretty straightforward... You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of the intro of Anohana. Very, very much so. It's very much the same vibe, which is rather appropriate given what we're going to talk about next. So, spoiler alert, but we usually assume that if you're going to watch it...
Yeah, if you're going to watch it, you should have seen the episode title for us and gone, maybe I should watch this 50-episode anime before I, wade into a spoiler-ridden review.
So, spoiler alert,
This is your
Spoiler,
last
spoiler,
chance.
your warning. Okay, so yeah, so Ko and the gang and his school friends are all hanging out doing school kids in Japan thing. You've got the
Also important, I think it's important to mention, I think this is something we need to, especially given the current crop of sports anime, like Blue Lock, your Blue Locks, your Haikyuus, etc. Right? Our current, the current generation are all protags who want to play the sport, right? Hinata loves volleyball. He wants to play volleyball. That guy from Blue Lock really wants to play football. You get the point, right? It's been a long time since I read Blue Lock. I dropped it. So
and you've got Aoashi, same thing. And
Aoashi,
like,
same thing. Yeah, like most sports characters want to play the sport, right? That's a very basic principle we are talking about here. Which is why Ko is an interesting protagonist, because for him, baseball isn't all that. He can bat. Yeah, he's a great batter, but he doesn't give a damn about baseball. He just wants to sell Guernseys and sell cleats and baseball bats to the local baseball teams because his dad runs a sports shop.
And the thing is that's really funny about it, you would think that he'd be like a lay-down Nazaire, as it were, for being a sports protag, because he works in a sporting goods store, and his best friends and primary love interests, plural, that's getting into that. Yeah, his primary love interests and his own family. Like, he runs a sporting goods store, his love interest's family runs a baseball batting rink. Like
with a coffee shop affixed to it. Really interesting layout. Like, who built that building?
But you know what? Actual would go there.
Oh, 100%. I would absolutely go to a baseball pitching, like, cage and then immediately go and fucking...
Yo, for real, like you know, throw out an Aussie classic, a batting lane with a freaking cafe, with a cafe primo attached, you know, like, yeah.
Beauty right there.
You smack home runs and then go get a schnitty. Oh yeah, for real. That's the top tier. But make sure Alba doesn't cook it though, because it will be like it will black and burn to a crisp. But anyway,
blackened as my soul.
But so like you would think, oh yeah, this is perfect setup for a kid like Goro, like you're like, I want to play baseball. That's all I want to. Nah, Ko's just like, I want to sell Guernseys. I like playing baseball. He plays baseball not because he wants
to be the best
baseball,
or wants to be a professional.
His homies play baseball. So
It's like when you're a kid, you play sports because you want to play sports with your mates. That's it. Like, for a lot of kids, that's it, right? And that's interesting. So that already like starts us off with an interesting vibe. But what really makes it interesting, and what I feel like kind of dates it, is the fact that Ko has a girlfriend for all intents and purposes. His childhood friend Wakaba from next door is very smitten with Ko. And Ko, for all of his brazen, brash attitude, he loves her just as much. As like little kids, right? It's little kids love. They're, 10 years old?
Yeah, look, man, like when I was in primary school, like around that age, like 7, 8 years old, I had a girlfriend, Hien. If you ever watch this, there's no way Hien's ever gonna watch this. Hi, Hien. She and I were really close friends, and yeah,
this is when you use a fake name.
Oh, come on, we live in freaking Australia, right? We live in Australia. Like our immigrant population is like a third Vietnamese. There's about 500,000 Hiens. Pick one. But yeah,
if you're the lucky Hien out there, comment below.
Yeah, her last name's Nguyen. Good luck.
Oh god.
Fun little history fact for you around the middle of the medieval period in Vietnam. The emperor of Vietnam was named Nguyen, and then decreed everyone needed to be named after him. So, literally, for a brief period of Vietnamese history, like for like a century, like everyone in Vietnam was Nguyen. So that naming tradition is continued on. So if you can find the correct Nguyen, congratulations, well done. Don't know why you would dox and stalk someone like that, but good luck.
Who knows? I might edit this out in post.
No, it's fun. It's a fun little history tidbit. We're supposed to be historians, remember?
Oh no, I'm saying I'll bleep out the names to make it more vague. I'll leave in Nguyen, but I won't.
If you could find a specific Nguyen, good luck.
But yeah, so like, back to the anime.
But yeah, so like, okay, so you look, we've talked about it already, so you know where this is going. Everyone talks about it, and it's what this author is famous for. Seriously,
he kills off the kid.
He kills off
Wakaba. He kills Wakaba
right out the gate. Like, what I think
You knew it. You knew it.
I won't say I
straight
hate
out
it.
the gate.
I won't say I hate it, but like, I feel like this author is a bit shit in that regard. And the reason why I say this is because this motherfucker didn't even wait like 2 episodes or so for us to build up attachment or anything. Nah, she, like, the moment she comes on screen, like halfway through the first episode, she's like, oh, this is a great bike ride. I'm having fun. Yada, yada, yada. Oh, I dream one day we'll play baseball together. How cute is that? This is all great. And, oh, by the way, I'm going on a trip. Dun, to the mountains. Dun. And I'm a swimmer, and I've been told that I'm going to be the helper instructor on this swimming trip. Dun. Like, he just starts chucking out one death flag after another death flag after another. It's episode 1, bro. Because you can't kill her in episode 1.
If you take account for the anime, there's no excuse for it, right? It happens in 1 episode. It is very hard to build attachment to a character you're 1 episode in with. With the manga, it was 2 months. 2 months of chapters, right? A chapter every week, 2 months before the fateful chapter came. So I feel like that builds, it's more time with her, you know, really build it up. As opposed to 1 episode, which I feel like was an issue on the part of the anime team, maybe not wanting to stretch it out, because they did skip some content from volume 1, and it makes me a little sad because, and also it's also like, let's be real, this anime is a decade and a half old. Very different time back then, right? 15 years. These tropes were a bit more fresh. It was a little less shocking. I mean, a little more shocking other way around.
I mean, like, seriously though, like, homie just didn't wait. You can just, like, halfway through the episode, like, there wasn't even it wasn't even dying disease. It was literally just straight up out the gate him. Just, you hear him rack the slide on his pistol, just, you know, you just hear him and you just wait. And it just hits you with 4 or 5 death flags in 1 conversation. The episode ends with her going on the bus, and then, like, it's the typical anime death scene off screen. News report about an accident in the mountains. Oh, how sad. And you're like, yes. Yes. And of course, there's the next episode starts, I think, with the, you know, the funeral shrine and everything, and everybody's sad. And then time skip.
That's right. We get a time skip very early on into Cross Game, and it's
like literally episode 2. Just
literally episode 2. Again, this works better in the manga, but you know, there's a reason why my manga is almost 10 out of 10, and the anime is closer to a 8.8 out of 10. That's not a foreshadowing for my future score though. We'll talk about that when we get there. So we time skip. We are now in middle school. The end of middle school. And Ko has been training in peace. Well, in quiet. Peace and quiet. He has secretly been training as a pitcher. You see, he was left with something by our dead, slayed by the author girl, Wakaba. Wakaba left a dream. She dreamed of him playing at Koshien. Of course, Koshien being the biggest baseball tournament in Japan for high school students.
And basically the prerequisite of you have to bake a splash at Koshien for you to get scouted for.
Well, if you want to be like top of the list in the scouts, you got to make a splash at Koshien, right?
Yeah, you have to show up.
That's basically it. Yeah. And also just a fun little historical side thing. A lot of Koshien baseball players end up with really crazy nicknames. Look into it. There's like people called like King Killer, like because they stopped like a dude's like perfect Koshien run. Like he got all the way to the semifinals and then he just got absolutely destroyed by this other guy. Like it's an incredible competition. And so her dream involved our protag going to Koshien with his friend, as well as her little sister. As Ko reminds us, girls can't play at Koshien, so that won't work out. No worries. The characters decide to push on regardless of her not knowing how baseball works. So basically the core plot of Koshien, the core plot of Cross Game is a pretty standard Japanese baseball story. Gotta get to Koshien.
Absolutely.
So they pick their high school, they go to the high school team, they establish themselves. That's right, we're gonna be the best of the best, and anyone is welcome to come along with us.
You always say you think, but there's a whole lot of stuff that goes on in between it. Like, Ko's been practicing in secret this whole time, right?
And interestingly, he's been basing himself off of none other than Alba.
Yeah. Wakaba's sister, which is kind of nuts. Because Alba has no idea. And she hates Ko for basically just always monopolizing his time with Wakaba, so she didn't get to spend as much time with her sister as she wanted. And she also is pissed off with him because after Wakaba died, it seemed that Ko quit baseball.
Also, okay, sorry, I've got to back up because we have brushed. I'm going to bring it up anyway. Doesn't matter. So, a really important thing about Cross Game and just Adachi's writing in general is how the heartfelt scenes work. See, one of the most heartfelt parts of part 1, which it happens in the first episode, so again, it is robbed a little bit of emotional context, but we see this beautiful scene after Wakaba dies, where Ko, regardless of her death, decides he's going to go to the summer festival to celebrate. And he does. And he's walking around, and everywhere he looks, he sees her face, right? He sees her face.
Yeah.
He sees, her, like, things that they used to do together, and he finds himself standing in front of a stall, and he says to the man, "What am I supposed to do?" And of course, the man has no idea what he's talking about. As he's walking back, we get some shots of Alba, who is swinging a baseball bat just over and over again, swinging in the batting cage.
Yeah.
As he arrives by her house, very shocked, still, very emotional. He doesn't really know what he's feeling because he's a child. Right? Children don't know how to process their emotions. Most adults don't know how to process their emotions. It's a very relatable moment. He sees their classmate Akaishi, who had a crush on Wakaba, standing out front of their house. And Ko finds himself wondering, why is he there? What's he doing? And in the dark, he looks across and he sees that Akaishi is crying and delivers a beautiful line. That's right. All I needed to do was cry. And we see all three of them crying. Akaishi, Alba, and Ko finally crying as he leans down on the ground with his hat pulled over his face, tears rolling down his chin. And these are the scenes. In the manga, these scenes are very quiet. In the anime, due to the need for sound, it's a little obviously louder. But I still think it's a very beautiful scene. And I think these scenes, as they rock up in the anime, are also still well done. And from Alba's perspective, she didn't see any of that. From her perspective, he just shrugged his shoulders after her death and just kept going on as if nothing happened, as if he was just going to forget her. And that has led to their relationship, even more so than before, worsening.
Yeah, but this is the thing, right? You fast forward, and it turns out that Ko never forgot about the promises he made Wakaba, and still keeps ticking off her birthday by buying her gifts that she planned for her birthday every single year it comes around.
Because Ko is terrible at deciding on birthday presents, she wrote him a list. And every year, Ko buys the present correlating to that. And in sometimes going completely out of his way to absolutely ludicrous levels. And it's a very human grieving moment. And it's a very good grief story. And I think it's one of those things that really draws me to this series. So we see this. We see Ko has taken this to heart. He is doing fitness regimes based on Alba. He is doing pitching based on what he sees from Alba. This kid is doing everything to become the best pitcher he can. He is already a very good batsman. Now he's also a good pitcher.
That's right.
And thus high school begins.
Yeah. And he wasn't on the middle school team too, even though Alba knew he was kind of good and kept bugging him, and that's another reason why she's pissed off. She knew he was kind of good and said, "Hey, join the middle school team because we need your help." And he's like, "Nope, not gonna.
I got things to do."
And then, sure enough, it's revealed that him and Ikeishi know about this and have been practicing in secret, and it's all a plot so that when Ko gets to high school, he can join the team and be a secret weapon that nobody knows about and start crushing dudes and get Seiren High School to the Koshien.
But
And
immediately upon high school, they run into an issue. The high school has been building up the perfect baseball team. They have scouted around the prefectures. They have brought players in. They have brought in a professional Koshien coach. He doesn't want anything to do with these little worms. So he sends them to the farm team. Get out of here.
And of course, this literally happens in 70% of sports anime.
This is a very common plot for a reason, because it happens in real life.
It happens in Blue Lock and Aoashi, I believe. It happens in Night in the Area. It happens in fucking Giant Killer we were watching the other day.
Diamond No Ace is
Diamond
the
No
core
Ace.
concept is that they are a scouting team. They literally go out of their way to bring in players into Kanagawa.
And it even happens a few times in Kuroko. Kuroko's team, the team that Kuroko joins, is one of the shit kicker teams, and he joins specifically so that he can shine in this shit kicker team, right? Him and Tiger take this high school, which is pretty basic compared to the others, which have the generation of miracles, as they're called, taken to the heroes. And so, yeah, look, this is the same trope you've seen before, and it goes pretty much the same as you would expect it to go. But it does have one key difference. Is unlike all these other shows which have various contrivances, this rival feeder team against prime team arc brings in the best boy of the show.
Yuhei Azuma.
Dude, it's not like you would think that Ko, the protag, in a shonen anime, best boy should be the protag, but no.
Let's be real. In 90% of anime, best boy isn't the main character.
They try to make it. They try it every anime and manga tries to make protag best boy, and there's only 3 or 4 cases where I can think that it worked. The only one I can think of really is Soma from Food Wars, and even then, that's a toss-up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's a lot of good boys in
because
Food Wars.
I would say that Food Wars, you've got Soma, who's so great because he's such a piece of shit yet such a good guy at the same time that you really like him. But of course, then you've got Aldini, and Aldini's fucking Chad. So, it's tough. But I think Food Wars is really the only one modern example I can think. There's probably others. I mean, Goku, I guess. But Goku wins because he is the original best boy for anime, I suppose. If you're gonna be that way. But Yuhei though.
Okay, so let's get this out of the way really early. Cross Game is a love triangle of sorts, but the triangle is always rotating participants.
Yeah.
So early on, the love triangle is Akaishi, Wakaba, and Ko. But it's except the problem is that Ko and Wakaba are mutually in love, so Akaishi is out in the cold. Goodbye. Part
Wakaba
two
dies.
starts. Part two starts. Ko now has no love interest. Alba everyone is in love with Alba. Ko's got his own set of fans. You know, the two of them are doing their own thing. But as the series starts to progress, we start to see the sparks begin to fly. The beginnings of romance begin with Alba and Ko. And thus, they start to get feelings for each other. Oh, wait, hold on. We need to add in a third. Yuhei Azuma is in love with Alba.
Yep.
But Yuhei is a bro. He's a big
Yuhei
bro.
is a bro.
And when he realizes what the fuck the score is, he kind of like bows out. Right? And then you think we're done? Nope. Rotate in. A girl called Akane gets in on this action. She's in love with Ko. And Ko's having some complicated feelings about that, which we will discuss when we get to it. The plot of this story is really fun in that sense because we go up and down and up and down. It's not like a lot of shonen is build, and then just like increasing drama and action and drama and action. The plot of Cross Game comes up and down a lot, right? You have these big intensive moments, then you get some time to cool down. Sometimes a little bit too much time, especially in the anime. Especially because the anime has filler that wasn't in the manga.
This is the thing that really gets me though, because you have the start, which is the competition with the feeder team and the main team, right? You know for a fact, the problem with that trope is it was good at the time it was written, but the problem with that trope is you know that the underdogs are going to have to win because if they don't, you know, the story ends. And there are a couple of other shows that like to throw curveballs, like, you know, Kuroko throws a few curveballs here and there. Slam Dunk definitely does. But on the whole, you know that in the end, the pro tags are going to triumph and, you know, go forward because the series requires it. But it's a good building arc. It establishes the characters and what they're like and how they play baseball. And the reason why Ko starts getting closer to Alba is Alba confided in her sister ages ago that her ideal man is a guy who could throw a 100-mile-an-hour fastball, right?
Which pretty dope.
Which is pretty dope. And Ko starts pitching fast. So, and you know, there's a little bit of
also we're talking like regular league Japanese baseball here. Like, so like for kids, you know, there's no pitch speed. You know, no one's like measuring that stuff with a speed gun. So we just know it's fast. The narrative repeatedly tells us he is pitching fast. And it's getting faster. Each game, each like loss, each win, they're getting better and better.
That's right. But the thing with this game at the start though is you're introduced to the team and the characters. Sender, he's just annoying. He's the shonen comic relief character you've got to have in every shonen.
Who's Sender? Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
it's especially funny. I don't know if Sender's a character style who crops up a fair bit in Adachi manga, which makes me wonder if he knew someone like Sender and he's just decided that for the rest of eternity he is going to ruthlessly mock that individual.
Nakanishi, like Ko's best mate, is an absolute bro. Yeah, he's just absolutely awesome. He's a big dude. But he's got a heart of gold, and he's out there with Akaishi doing cool guy shit. I think that's what I like about the dynamic between the guys on the B team who become the A team for obvious reasons, is that they're just bros. Like, there is a lot of sports anime you see lots of conflict between the main characters, and that's like a driving force. You see it a lot in like the really competitive sports shows, right? And you see it in shonen as well. The best friend male characters like fall out and fight every 10 episodes or so because, you know, they're spurring each other on, but sometimes tempers flare. Not in this. In this, it's literally team solidarity the whole time. They've got each other's backs at all times, like without question. It's one of the
Yeah.
greatest parts.
It's that very classic sports style. You know, these guys are bros, and they're bros for a reason. Like all of them seem to like actually like. It's one thing I really appreciate is that we just like often see the characters just hanging out together. Like these characters like to spend time together. It's nostalgic in that way that you used to hang out with your friends when you're younger, you know, and you don't do that when you're an adult. So it's nice to watch and be like, yeah, that was a really great part of childhood, you know.
But Yuhei Azuma is
Our boy.
the Giga Chad. He's best boy for sure.
He is the I believe designated. He is first baseman. He hits fourth, of course. He's the cleanup hitter.
And he gets walked every game, basically, because he's a god.
Especially near the end of the series, people just stop pitching at Azuma. They just decide it's safer to walk him, which fair. Which also, I believe, I can't remember when it is, but it leads to a pretty hilarious instance where someone pitches a ball, but not wide enough, and he hits it out. He hits it to the back wall anyway.
Every time he gets pitched at in the series, unless it's like one of those dramatic moments between him and the star pitcher, or against Ko, of course, because Ko is aiming to be the fastest pitcher in Japanese youth league, right?
Yeah.
Unless he's like pitching and batting against Ko or one of the team's aces, right? They don't bother throwing at him, and if they do throw at him, he just sends it over the fence every time. There's a big plot point in that when he visits the batting center to practice, the family batting center, so he goes to Alba's place all the time to practice his hits. He's the only person to ever beat Ko's home run record.
Ko and Alba, for that matter, because both Alba and Ko are fantastic hitters.
Yeah, they're both double players, which, again, given the recent heroics of Shohei Ohtani, is rather appropriate.
Yeah, our boy Shohei loves Goro though.
Yeah.
I think he would probably be sad when he found out he couldn't throw a gyro ball. You haven't even gotten that far into Major. You don't even know what a gyro ball is. Moving on. Anyway, so the plot of Cross Game can roughly be broken into sort of like three main phases. The first phase is the obviously part one, where they're just children. Part two being the development of Alba and Ko's relationship as friends, then as something more than friends, but also that line is muddy because Ko still clearly is grieving about the loss of Wakaba, which, you know, as a child, he's entitled to do that. She's also feels bad because she feels like she can't get attached to Ko because she's stealing him from Wakaba, right? In the midst of this, we start to see them get closer, only for the third love triangle to kick in. That is Akane, a girl who looks exactly like Wakaba, moves to town. Akane is an interesting character because she is her own person. They establish very clearly that she's got her own tastes, her own behaviors, but she is also a little too close to Wakaba for a lot of the people around town, which causes them to sort of awkwardly stare at her when she rocks up and she's like, was it something I said?
The moment where she finds out is really touching too, because Akane just suddenly has this moment of realization, and then she feels guilty about it.
Yeah, and that's why I think Akane is like a really good girl. Like, we often talk about the concept of like, you know, best girl, blah, blah. Akane's not best girl, right? She's not best girl.
No.
But she is a great girl. She is so empathetic. She understands immediately what's going on. She's even willing to do like outrageous things. Like, yeah, I can spend some time here if it makes you feel like more like your daughter's like around, this kind of thing. Like, she's very quick to be like, even to Ko being like, you can treat me like Wakaba if you want.
Yeah,
which makes Ko's feelings even more complicated because now Ko has this, and this becomes a point of conflict between him and Alba. Alba just thinks he's using Akane as like a replacement, and that by doing so he's also forgetting and desecrating the memory of Wakaba. Fair play, mind you.
The only problem is, of course, like Alba tends to do a lot, Alba has completely misinterpreted the situation because Ko's double-edged guilt is the fact that he feels the same guilt that Alba's feelings, because it's revealed right near the very end, mind you, that Ko has had a crush on Alba this whole time, and he has been like, no, that's horrible, that's really fucked up, I can't do that, can I? I can't do that, can I? That'd be like, that's
That's so messed up, so
like
fucked up.
Wakaba said, "Don't steal him from me," okay, and I knew about that because you mentioned it, and like and so Alba has no idea that Ko has been crushing on her this whole time, and he's been purposely cold and avoiding the subject because he doesn't want to hurt her and dishonor Wakaba's memory because he likes her. Right, and so this whole thing is really messy, right? Like, and Akane's fantastic because Akane gets in on this mess, and she's like, you know what? I'll go out with Ko. He's a really nice guy. She likes Ko. She actually does want to go out with him, but after she realizes what's going on and she picks up on his feelings, she's like, "Yo, Alba, shoot your shot. You got this." Like. She's the friend who's sitting on the sidelines screaming at the top of her voice, "For God's sake, be honest with yourselves and each other, because this is starting to get painful to watch."
Yeah, and it's... I like that... So one of the things that is so great about Cross Game, and obviously, this is one of those rare episodes where I'm like way more positive on the subject, so I'm going to revel in that. But one of the great things about Cross Game is communication. Communication is key in this series. We watch anime. Anime is not known for subtlety in storytelling. Even this isn't particularly subtle. I mean, after all, the death flags are visible, right? And they come up again with Akane as well. You think that, like, the author is going to kill off Akane.
I'm gonna cut Ivy off right here.
Okay.
Because I need to rant on this bit before he continues. The audacity. He kills her once, brings her back from the dead, and then starts dropping death flags every episode again. He is setting up. He does the Your Lion April death flag. Like, I'm gonna have surgery during your big game. I hope you win. He does the Your Lion April death flag before Your Lion April did it.
Like, years before Your Lion April did it.
And the worst part is, it's a fake out. You fucking asshole. If you're gonna do this, commit to the bit. Sorry, I had to get that out.
No, it's fine. So the important... I'm just going to act as if that segment didn't happen. I'm just going to continue what I was saying. But the beauty of Cross Game is this subtle dialogues, right? A lot of characters communicate. There's no dramatic speeches, right? We don't get, like, your, like, Naruto talk no jutsu. We don't get these huge climactic moments. Like, even games often pass very quickly, and pretty much, like, one of the few games that counts is the last game in the whole series, right? But the communication between characters is what's most interesting, because there's a lot of, like, is that how it is? And that's how it is, you know? Characters don't say what they mean, and a very common theme is lying.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, because lies in manga and anime are generally...
They always come undone. As it's like this moral of the story. I don't know if it's a thing about Japanese culture, but they're very, very big on honesty.
Yeah, and like... most of the lies you see in anime tend to be pretty big. I mean, Your Lion April, it's literally the core concept is one gigantic lie, right? A compounding lie that just gets worse and worse. Here, people lie in little ways to each other, you know? People interrogate Ko about his relationship with Akane. People interrogate his relationship with Alba. People are like, is your commitment to baseball real? You know? And we always are left feeling like Ko himself is holding these answers very close to the chest, very close to the vest. He's not letting anyone really know how things are. He's not telling us, to the point that near the end of the series, in one of the best scenes in the series, Alba pins down Ko while they're playing together and asks him point blank range, do you like Akane? And he goes, yeah. She says, do you like me? And the only thing Ko says back that we see is, can I lie? And the impact of this is huge, especially for what happens during the game that takes place after this. So, we get faked out. Whoosh! Akane's okay. Nice. Ko plays like a champion. Just dominating the other team, We go to extra innings. This game is running forever. This is a brutal game. It's not an evil... And the best part is, this is the best part, is the evil team is not evil. They're not bad guys. They're actually really nice. It's just, they're the ones they gotta beat to get to Koshien, right?
Yep.
And so the game goes, and as Ko's pitches are getting faster and faster throughout the game, 98 miles per hour, 99 miles per hour, 100 miles per hour, not quite. But he's not quite hitting that 100 miles per hour mark. And I'm annoyed because in the manga, it's 160 kilometers an hour. For fairly obvious reasons.
Yep.
Because, Japan, like most of the world, uses kilometers an hour. So Ko's pitches are getting faster and faster. Like, they're getting ridiculous. He's losing a bit of control, but he's still pitching just like crazy fast. And thus, in his final on the mound, strike, 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 while he punctuates each strike with, we're going to Koshien, I'll pitch 100 miles per hour ball, and I love Alba Skishima more than anything in the world.
God damn.
Tears, my guy.
Brutal. It's fucking brutal. And I think that's what really hits to me about this series is that there's a lot to love about Cross Game's characterization of their relationship, because like you were saying, they don't monologue. Like,
yeah, you don't get, characters don't say how they're feeling. So often in anime, characters are like, I am sad.
Or they'll have an internal monologue on page that you, the reader, knows, but the other person can't possibly know. But it, throws off the vibe, because now that you know about their feelings, and you're seeing the reaction of the other person, and you don't know their feelings and such, it kind of throws off the vibe. But there's lots of scenes in Cross Game where the animation team deserve all the praise, although the one good thing it does is the anime adapts the art style very closely. So I've got to give it credit for that. There will be scenes where Ko or Alba will just look at another character, and just by the way their eyes are drawn, just by the way their body language is, you know exactly what kind of feelings, emotions, and vibe they have.
It's the focus on the eyes, it's the focus on the mouth, focus on hands. The way that Adachi captures emotions through no words at all, no dialogue, no nothing, is what makes his series work. And Cross Game's a really great example of it. It's a recurring thing, bringing it back to Ko as a liar, right? Ko goes to the grave of Wakaba around the time of their 18th birthday.
Yeah.
And while there, her father says, you didn't buy her present this year, did you? And he said, it was getting a bit expensive, so I decided to forego it. And it was his 17th birthday. Not important. Just around that period, right? Final year of school. And as we return to Ko's house, we reveal that Ko has, in fact, bought the present.
Indeed,
And
he has.
it's this beautiful moment of him just, putting the present into his box of gifts for Wakaba. It is such a touching moment. And there's so many moments peppered throughout the series like this. And it's not just Ko and Alba for each other. Like we talked about Yuhei, right? Yuhei Azuma. Azuma has a lot of quiet moments. He doesn't speak a lot in general as a character. He is very quiet, and a lot of his, we can read his emotions, and that's what it's a respect for the viewer. It's a respect for the reader, right? That says, I am trusting you to understand what this is putting down.
And you want to know what the best thing about Yuhei is? I'll tell you what the best thing about Yuhei is under no circumstances, under no pretext, no matter what is happening in the story, Yuhei is the anchor that keeps everything together. If Ko or Alba or anyone is having a bad time or struggling with something, Yuhei will rock up, say 3 or 4 words, solve all the problems that they're having emotionally, drop the mic, and then leave.
Let's highlight that last scene with the team, right? The last time we see the team in, full. At the end of their last game, Ko turns to Azuma, dead tired from pitching an absolutely insane game, and says, "Can I die now, Azuma?" To which Azuma says, "No. You still have something left to do. I told you to take Alba Skishima in your arms and hug her tight." Sender scoffs. Yep. The other boys are pretty much just like, yeah, that's going to happen. We get this beautiful scene of Ko walking through the crowd. POV. Beautifully done. Beautifully done in the manga, in the anime. And he embraces her. Holds her to his chest. Upon which she immediately slaps him in the face. And says, "I told you I hate you." To which he says, "Yeah, I know. Probably more than anyone in the world." And she responds, I've always hated you." And then cries into him. As we know, as her elder sister says, Wakaba and Ko are the only ones who can make Alba cry.
Yep. And this whole emotional breakdown is going on. And, it's not the first emotional breakdown half these characters have. And always, every time, Yuhei's there, drops some absolute diamond-plated wisdom, then drops the mic, throws his bat over his shoulder, and it's like, "I'm gonna go hit the lanes, I'll see y'all later," and just, this massive emotional scene is taking place, and all you see is Yuhei grin to himself slightly, and then turn around and get on the team bus without saying a fucking word. He doesn't say shit. He just turns around and leaves.
And thus...
He's the best boy.
And thus, I can't help... We've got to talk about it. The final scene.
God.
They're getting ready to go to Koshien, and they're standing at the train station. They're holding hands. And Ko asks, "How long are you going to hold my hand?" To which Alba responds, "If you don't like it, just let go." And Ko replies, "Okay. That's right, he knew all along. How it hurt to lose Waka, the happy memories. No matter how proud I pretended to be, no matter what lies I told, he's the one who always knew. He's so annoying, more than anyone in the world." And thus we see them, side by side, holding hands, with "he's so annoying" straight underneath.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like,
Beautiful.
If you don't like it, you can let go. Okay. He says, "Yeah, okay." And then just keeps standing there. It doesn't let go. It's just...
And you see a lot of complaints from shonen fans, and I would generally class them as the class of people who did not like the ending to Food Wars. Not the final arc, the very last chapter of Food Wars.
I am going to be controversial here, and I'm going to say I kind of agree with them, to an extent, but I agree. I have one problem with it.
Go.
Is that everyone was arguing that they should have gotten married at the end, right?
Yeah.
And that's what everyone was hoping for. The only thing I'm annoyed by is that they didn't kiss at the end.
Or hold hands or something.
Or hold hands or something. They didn't do that. They had a confession of love from Erina, but they didn't. But she doesn't say it out loud. She just. There's not a moment of catharsis where they're holding hands or something, and that's why I get why they're so annoyed.
However, I will say unequivocally, I still love that. I still love the tying it back into you've got to find someone that you want to cook for every day. I think that's beautiful. I think that the how is it put? I've started to look forwards to tasting your dishes from Erina, right? The combination of those two things, I think, makes for a really beautiful ending. I think that, yeah, it would have been nice to see them hold hands, maybe even a kiss. I get that. I get that people want that payoff. But I am also very into that spiritual, artsy approach, right? And that's why I love the ending to Cross Game, because the last page isn't them. It's tying it back to the clover, a perennial plant in the pea family. In the Edo period, Dutch traders used it as packing materials on their ships, hence its Japanese name, Sumakusa packing grass. The 4-leaf variety is said to bring good luck.
Yeah. And
much like the series itself, much like the work of Mitsuru Adachi in general, he doesn't. It's probably a fact that part of the fact that he is, a product of his time. He's a very old Japanese man. For him, drawing big kisses and stuff, while they do happen in other works of his, he has had characters kiss. He's had them hold hands. He's done plenty of stuff like that. Cross Game wasn't that kind of story. It never really was, right? It wasn't, and even the big moment with Ko and Alba at the very end of the series, it's meant to be both very emotional, but also kind of low-key, which is ironic given that they're doing it in front of everybody else.
Yeah, I think there's one big thing about his emotional writing that really hits home to me, and we've been saying it a bit, but it's the fact that with that, saying much without saying anything kind of style that he does, what's also really impressive is that when his characters do talk to one another, it doesn't feel forced or unnatural or monologue-y.
It's not literary, I think is the way to put it, right? It feels like a conversation people would have.
It feels like a less polished Tarantino-esque kind of thing. It is conversational dialogue rather than exposition dialogue.
And I think what makes it work as well is the fact that people are conversational. They're very conversational. People talk all the way through Cross Game. There's lots and lots of conversations, but people withhold information. They have their bias, their own angle that they're trying to push, and I think it works very well. I think it works beautifully at times. The manga more so, blah blah blah. Just a quick difference thing. The only real major difference is that there's a few filler episodes in Cross Game, but the most notable filler is that Alba gets her own arc in the anime that wasn't included in the manga. And
that actually touches on something.
Made it worse in some ways because it benched Alba despite setting it up.
There was one big problem I have with Cross Game, and I guess we're into the latter stages of talking about it, so I guess it's time for the customary anime roulette, what we liked and what we didn't like. So there are two major problems I have with Cross Game. One, for supposedly being a baseball series, there is a distinct lack of baseball. Like,
there
60% of the time.
there is a stretch, I think, of about 10 episodes where they don't actually play baseball.
Like, the start, they play like one round or two, like in the sandlot, right? And then they have like the games and practice, and then like they're talking. We're going to class. Oh, family drama, talking. And then they play a game of baseball, and then they play another game of baseball, and then they play like 3 games back to back over 3 episodes, and you're like, wow, for a baseball manga again, finally, this is great. And then another 10 episodes where no baseball, like you see them playing practice, and then
I think it's because, unlike some of his other, like, Touch does it as well. There's a lot of non-baseball moments in Touch, especially when one of the characters starts boxing. But like, a big factor is that I think that, like, it's probably the reason that some people prefer H2 so much to Cross Game is because H2 is focused on more on baseball in a lot of ways. Also, the romance in that series is insanely complicated.
This isn't a baseball anime, despite we classing it as a sports anime because it is sports themed. It's not a baseball anime. It's a romantic drama slice of life anime that happens to be themed around baseball.
And I think that's okay. And there's a manga currently in Weekly Shonen Jump called Blue Box, and it literally tries to do the same thing poorly. And it's selling really well because clearly there's a demand for sports series which are also mostly focused on the everyday. And I think that works for certain series. Like, because this is not a Spokon series, right? This isn't your hype training arcs, Dire. Like, this isn't like Dire or Major. You know, Ko does train and Ko gets better and Ko and the team beat more teams. But the games are just as much to drive the narrative as they are to, you know, be the core point of the series, right? It's clear because there's a lot of the best animation, the best like scenes aren't the games.
No, the games are actually pretty badly animated.
Pretty poor. Like there's like bad sound design. Like there's a lot of faults that come up with the Cross Game anime, which, you know, you can negate by just reading the manga. But
good lord.
But it's still a great series, right?
I think that my original point, Ivy and I have a running gag, which you've probably noticed on this show, which is anime that we watch have a really bad habit. Because we've been rolling anime on a random generator, about 7 or 8 of the past 12 shows that we've reviewed so far, right? There'll be a moment in these shows where they'll be like, ah, yes, I come from Eldania, and the evil dragon lord burned it down in the Third Age, and there was an army of dragons that fought the demon lord's undead zombie hordes, and then the elves on their flying griffins came down from the stars. And why the fuck aren't we watching that? Why the fuck aren't we watching that? We're here in this shitty slice of life isekai, going town to town, border hopping or some shit. I don't know. We're doing this crap.
Oh god, we're gonna get into Skyrim if we keep border hopping.
Yeah,
like
exactly. Exactly. It's Skyrim, right? Like, there is this massive Third Age or whatever with dragons, or like, you know, there are other anime where it's like, before this, there was, you know, the Grand Age that now we've broken down. Why aren't we watching that story? Like, you know, they'll like a character will tell their backstory, right? Like, I was this wandering worker, and I came across this magical shield that gave me these powers, and I had a long list of adventures, and now I'm just this weak old man. But I'm going to teach you my skills. No, fuck off these you annoying shitbird kids. Can we talk about Grandpa? I want to watch his anime. His anime sounds way more interesting. And unfortunately, in my opinion, Cross Game suffers from the same problem. And
because you love Alba.
Alba is way more interesting a character than Ko is. That's my biggest problem. Ko is the weakest part of Cross Game. I don't have any shame saying that. because the entire time we're always focusing on Ko and how he's always being stern and like, oh, I'm staying chill, I'm trying to cope with grief, yada yada yada. And he gives off Kirito vibes too, in the sense that, oh, I'm just going to throw this fastball because I have been secretly practicing this whole time. Meanwhile, Alba's been out there training every day, busting her ass. She has the opportunity to join the like women's national baseball team. You know, she has all this shit going on, and she's much more vocal and has much more intenser struggle with the loss of her sister, because now she's having to help out more at the family business. She's having to navigate, you know, social problems and social situations that normally Wakaba would handle, but now she has to, and all this sort of thing, right? She has a much more interesting story, and yet we're following 2D cutout McDipshit who can throw a fastball.
I'm gonna push back on that for fairly obvious reasons. I think Ko is a bit more than that, and I think the reason that Alba sticks out is because she's more of a like prototypical protagonist, right? She is the secondary protagonist of Cross Game. She's in focus a lot of the time. You know, her arc is very predominant. I think Ko's arc is a lot more subtle, and I think it's a very off-type protag, right? A lot of Ko's like self-development, his like internal struggles, his personal like grief over the death of Wakaba, his inability to move on, you know, I think all of this is dealt with very subtly, which in a sports anime doesn't necessarily work the best, right? Which makes Alba come across as the better protag. I think Ko's got a lot of depth to him as a character. I think calling him a 2D character is a disservice. But like, I can totally see how you could watch Cross Game and see that. But remember, I've read this series a lot, so like
he doesn't get the problem I have with Ko is he besides that first hit of characterization he gets with Wakaba's death and the little bits and pieces you see here and there, Ko's character and his personality and his attitude and his motivations and everything do not change or do not noticeably, tangibly shift for the first 15 to 20 episodes. He is just Ko, and he stays like that. And that is actually a plot point, because Alba is fucking infuriated by that, right? And I'm infuriated as the audience, so I guess he's done a good job in that respect. But it's just annoying, because Alba's out there being awesome. She has her own... she's the B-plot, yeah, obviously, but every time Alba's confronted with something, she's out there. She's the captain of the middle school team, and they're going through intense tournaments at the time, and you see her practicing her ass off every day while, you know, Ko and the gang are dicking around. You know what I mean? To be
fair, I wouldn't say that Ko is dicking around, but yes, he does, like... His attitude towards baseball, I think, is different because Wakaba is doing it. Not Wakaba, sorry. Alba is. Oh my god, I'm losing my voice. Hold on a second. I don't have any water. All right, I'm gonna have to bear with. Alba loves baseball because Alba loves baseball, right? Alba's love of baseball comes from the fact that she loves the sport. She loves playing the sport. She loves watching the sport. She absolutely loves the sport from top to bottom to the core, right? For Ko, baseball is a means to an end. He is doing this because he has a goal. And I think the contrast between those two approaches is interesting. Ko's approach to baseball is all about fulfilling Wakaba's dream, and to the later half of the series, it becomes about fulfilling his goals towards Alba as well. Also, interestingly, unlike a lot of characters, his approach to Alba isn't, I'm going to win the game, therefore Alba is going to be mine. It's, I'm going to do it to prove to Alba that I could be that guy. Which is quite different from certain protagonists who are like, yes, if I do this, I win the girl. Not how women work. Women do have autonomy. No. Shockingly to weebs, women do actually have the ability to choose.
Although being the best pitcher on the baseball team does help because it means you're very athletic and very fit. Therefore, doesn't hurt your chances, guys. So don't let us discourage you.
Start throwing. Start throwing today.
Being a star on your local sports team is a good way to get girlfriends. I'm just saying it does work, and that's actually a plot point because again, Ko becomes an absolute chick magnet, and yet he keeps turning them all down, which again pisses off Alba. Now, I'm gonna keep saying it. Alba, meanwhile, is again out there trying out for the Japanese women's team. She's out there playing her own games, and she sacrifices her, future playing baseball to become their coach and assistant manager in the club because she wants their club to go to Koshien, right? And so, Alba's got all this depth to her, and yet we keep cutting back to Ko. It's the one part of Cross Game I didn't like. I liked Alba's sequences because they felt more compelling to me.
They felt more like your style, yeah.
They felt more compelling. They felt more like what I was tuning in for. It felt like when I was watching Alba, I was watching sports anime. When I was watching Ko, I was watching a romance drama. But the problem is, romance drama, a lot of the time, while we can compliment how well their feelings translate without saying stuff and all that, and how realistic it is, by the same token, romance drama kind of thrives on the internal monologuing and so forth. Like, Kaguya is a comedy, sure, but half the appeal of Kaguya and half the appeal of Say I Love You as well is internal monologues of the characters, internal thoughts of the characters, right? And in Cross Game, you never get internal monologues. Ever, generally.
Yeah.
So, when it's being a romantic drama, it's being a romantic drama a lot of the time with a third of what makes a romantic drama a thing missing. And the only thing that really sort of brings it back together is that Ko is one of the boys. And the boys are what make the difference. Because the Ko-Yuhei bromance is just mwah. Mwah. The fact that Yuhei moves in with Ko and they're just constantly being bros is the best part. Like, there are so many scenes where Yuhei is just like on his way to training and Ko's there and he's like, kicks his bed, get up, dickweed. You gotta go practice, right? Like, oh, you're up already. Wait, Yuhei's already up in his tracksuit. He's ready to go train. Why aren't you up, you lazy shit? Let's go. Like, you need to keep fit. So what? We're running to school. Why are we running to school? Because we need to keep fit. Oh, come on. Can't we take the train? No. Grabs him and they go running, right? So Yuhei and Ko are what saves the Ko side of the show for me. But I feel like Alba should have gotten much more attention. But yeah, that's my biggest complaint. Animation-wise, the show is
it's fine.
It's its age.
Yeah, this happens a lot. This happens a lot with Weekly Shonen Sunday anime, especially of that period. It's weird because like this is a legendary writer, and the anime he gets are just they're very well done, and it's carried by the writing. Right at the end of the day, it's being carried by the very good writing. But the animation it's not up to it's not as good as it could be. There's good direction, I will say that. There's a lot of good direction choices. But yeah, at the end of the day, it is a hard writing carry going on here.
I think there's also another big issue here. We haven't mentioned Other Best Boy, which is also
Akaishi?
It is also a bro. Specifically Yuhei's bro.
Ah, yes.
Junpei.
Yes, so Junpei is a character we get introduced quite late in the series comparatively. Junpei...
Yuhei's older brother.
Junpei Azuma. Junpei Azuma is... such a fun character because he's the prototypical sportsman who got injured in high school and couldn't be as good as he could have been. Right? He got injured, he lost his career.
Now he sells vegetables.
Now he sells vegetables, and he's in love with Alba's older sister. Because
their relationship is
because if the team loses, she said she won't get married to him. To the
but
point
I would like to point out that their relationship, despite this being a romance anime with like a romance triangle between three main characters and all that sort of jazz, the best romance in the show is between Junpei and Chiyo, because their relationship is one of the realest relationships I've ever seen in anime, ever. Like,
yeah,
it's one of the best relationships I've ever seen in an anime, because it is just so legit. He asks her out, they go out on dates and shit, and she knows what it's about. He knows what it's about. They start building up a relationship, and you can see it. What's great about it is Junpei is this comic relief character. He's always funny, he's always jokey, but when baseball comes up, when he's talking about baseball, he doesn't lose his smile, but his eyes change. Again, with the eye animation.
His intensity.
Yeah. When it's talking about baseball, like, he'll be chilling on the bench or he'll be chilling in the practice area while they'll be hitting. And he gets appointed assistant coach so they can get to Koshien so he can get married, obviously. But there's moments with baseball where, you know, like, this happy-go-lucky guy's like, wow, I fell over. That's pretty funny, huh? Oh, hey, did you see this thing on TV last night? It's great. Anyway, they get to baseball, and then suddenly he'll rattle off some wisdom that is just so good. And you look at, and the camera will cut to him, and he will just be Iceman. Like his little brother is always the Iceman, and he's always chatty and talkative. But when baseball comes up, he becomes the Iceman again briefly. And he's just dead serious. Like, but he never loses his smile, but his eyes have like a frown, and he's just staring intently at the game. And he'll make offhand remarks. Like, he does the thing that all shonen anime do, where, you know, during the middle of the match, like, one of the other characters will be like, looks like there's game over for our heroes here, fellas. I wouldn't be so sure. And then the camera will cut to him, and you'll see him frowning, but he's smiling. You know, and you're just like, we're about to get some wisdom. So I gotta give Junpei his credit.
He is, in fact, a bro.
But I have to dock points from Cross Game in one respect. The soundtrack.
Oh, yeah.
It's
not
I do not
great.
remember a single song from it at all. I don't remember a single piece of the soundtrack at all.
Yeah, it's not. I feel like a really good soundtrack would have been really useful for Cross Game, but I feel like it's fine. It's complimentary, like with an E, but like, yeah,
Can you like think of one track? I don't like. I remember the opening. It's like dun, dun, dun,
I can remember the OP, but I can.
But like again,
I can remember a few songs here and there, but like, yeah.
Again, like the OP is, Like, for you, it hits a bit harder because of nostalgia, but as a new viewer, it was just.
Well, it's not even nostalgia, because for me, Cross Game is a manga. Like, for me, Cross Game will always be defined by its manga. Like, for me, I don't feel the need to be like, Cross Game's anime is the best anime ever made. Like, I don't feel that. I love the story, right? At the end of the day, I will fight for Cross Game's story. I will fight for, like, you know, that kind of storytelling. But
like, you think of all the other sports anime out there. Sports anime openings have this habit of going unreasonably fucking hard.
Oh yeah. Like some of the OPs out there, like Diamond Ace,
Kuroko's OPs go so hard.
Major had some absolutely beautiful openings. Haikyuu's
openings go hard. I haven't even watched the show, but Haikyuu's openings go hard. Yeah, look, Cross Game's OST is Nah.
Definitely the weakest part, I'd say.
Definitely
The
its weakest part.
animation and so animation specifically, not the art, but the animation and the soundtrack are definitely probably the weakest parts of the cross game anime.
One thing I will say is that the league union needs to have a chat with their rostering manager, because the same ref is in every
It's the
single
same-
game.
They use the same soundbite to do all of the strikes and outs.
Yep, and it's always the same referee artistically. It's always the same animation and stuff for the refs. So
It's definitely a product of mid 2000s anime. Really struggling.
Well, that's what I'm sort of saying, right? Cross Game came out a year before the next show we're probably going to talk about, which is Giant Killers, and yet Giant Killers animation is absolutely fucking incredible, right? When you compare the two, and so there's 1 year difference between the two, and yet you can definitely tell that Cross Game. I think the biggest problem with Cross Game is that Cross Game is a 50 episode anime, which means they have to make their budget go a lot further.
Yeah.
And it's also why the baseball scenes aren't as frequent as they really should be. I mean, it is again, the manga has them as well, but
So this is important to remember. I've just checked out the season that Cross Game aired in.
Yeah.
Do you know what season it aired in?
Which season?
Spring 2009.
Oof.
Do you know what else aired in spring 2009?
I think Haruhi did, actually. Season 2 of Haruhi did.
Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood.
Good lord. Could you imagine being on the other channel to that? They
debuted on the same day.
Who's going to be watching this shitty little romance baseball show when you've got Full Metal Alchemist?
We also had K-On!, Dragon Ball Kai, Hayate the Combat Butler, which is garbage, so haha, suck it. Pandora Hearts.
I will defend Kai to the death, by the way.
Valkyria Chronicles anime aired the same season. That's pretty funny. Anything else interesting? Yeah, season 2 of Haruhi, notoriously very low scored because of fairly obvious reasons.
Endless 8 is the only reason. Endless 8 is the only fucking reason season 2 got dunked on, and that's fair enough, but
a lot of duds that season. A lot of duds.
Honest to God, I don't know. When I think about Cross Game, I will give it one thing though.
Yes.
Cross Game has, like all sports anime does, but Cross Game, even though it didn't have a lot of sport, actually managed to pull it off. Cross Game is very watchable, especially for a show of its length. Despite it being a 50 episode show, we knocked it out very quickly. We watched them in 12 episodes. We watched entire seasons of anime in one night, each night. It is a very watchable show.
Yeah,
so
we
for
knocked
that,
it out.
I've got to give it credit.
We knocked it out pretty quickly.
But that's it. So animation, okay. Art style, great. Very faithful to the manga. Soundtrack, dog shit. We've gone through all the characters that are worth talking about, really. I mean, we've covered everybody. For more detail, of course, it's a 50 episode anime, so you can watch the whole thing if you haven't already. I recommend you do. I mean, I don't really have much else to say on it, really, because a lot of the other stuff we could talk about in terms of specific episodes. Cross Game, while it has a lot of emotional depth, is also... I know this sounds really mean to say, but a lot of Cross Game is slice of life with a plot. It really is.
Yeah.
Slice of life is episodic by nature, but in reality, Cross Game has an ongoing overarching plot, but that overarching plot is supported by slice of life vignettes. They go to practice. They talk about the past. They play sport. They have a festival or something. They go to a park or whatever, and they they foil a robbery. Their bike breaks down or something. It's basically a high school slice of life with an overarching plot sports, and occasional tragic backstory. When we say occasional, when an occasional tragic backstory is, it comes up every single episode. Wakaba is mentioned every single episode, despite the fact that she's been dead for a decade at that point, or something stupid, like 4 years or whatever. She's been dead for literal years, yet she gets brought up in every episode. So, and then her reincarnated clone thing comes back.
I think I'd argue. I think it's a little bit representative of how the Japanese perspective of death, and how like people aren't as far away as you think when they die. I think it's something I disagree with you on. We both of us have different philosophies towards death, different philosophies towards grief, etc. And I think that it captures the nature of grief quite interestingly. Like you can be 4 or 5 years down the line, you've completely pretty much gotten over it, and then something reminds you of them, and it's like they're there again. And then every day, you see their face, you see, someone who sounds like them. I think that's something interesting that Cross Game sort of delves into in that sense. But that's just like my personal take on it, right? That's not everyone's gonna see it that way.
So that leaves us to the big question. What do we rate Cross Game?
So I've written down that I'm giving the story a 92. I'm giving the characters a 95. I'm giving the visuals a flat 81. And I'm giving my enjoyment an 87. For those curious about averages, that brings it to an 88. Comparatively, just for the sake of comparison, I have the story for the manga at a 98, the characters at a 98, the visuals at a 98, and my enjoyment at 100. The only 100 I have ever given out, which makes for an average of 98 if you can't do maths.
Which means that if his score, when you take both the manga and the anime into account, is a 9 out of 10.
Yep.
Again, this is one of the few times where I'm the lower ranker. When I think about it, when you ask me to give it a score, I'm sitting here thinking about what I would give it, and honest to God, I think I'd give it a 7.5. I would say that it's... The more I think about it, the more I've had time to sit and think about it, the more I go, it's very good, but at the same time, would I share Ivy's opinion that, like, this is a must-watch? And I would say no. I would say that there are better shows out there. Because I'm coming at it from a sports anime fan position, and I went in looking for sports, and what I got was high school drama slice of life with extra amounts of depression. And there was a baseball game every 3 episodes or so.
And
right?
Sometimes it made me sad.
And there's this bit in the middle where this baseball anime has only practice. There's like 10 to 12 episodes. Like there's an entire season of anime in the middle of this so-called baseball show where not a single match is played. And you're like, why? So if I'm being honest, I'd give it a 7.5, maybe an 8. And I will agree with Ivy, and the only reason it gets that is because when the character drama kicks in, when you hit around the 25, 26 episode mark, and you've gotten to know and appreciate the characters, and the extra drama starts ratcheting up, and the tension starts ratcheting up, the last half of Cross Game is an emotional fucking roller coaster. You are hanging on for dear life through the first 25 episodes are a bit but the last 25
moments, but they're not like they might not be for everyone. Yeah,
they have the same problem as Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, ironically enough, came out in the same year. The first half is okay. There are some great moments, but it's generally pretty meh, right? But the second half goes unreasonably hard. As I said, there's little things. The problem I have with it is that it's just not aged as well, and some of the things like the biggest thing I said is like the death flags, right, for the other character. Like when this show first came out, that would have been fucking amazing. It was insane. I was losing my shit when we were watching it. I was like, you can't be fucking serious. And then they do the fake out. And in a post Your Lion April world, it just doesn't hit. Right? Because now, like in the post Game of Thrones, post Your Lion April, post Attack on Titan world, you get irritated at the author for for cucking out and not following through. Kill this one too. Like, don't be a bitch. If you're gonna drop this many death flags, you better fucking kill her, right? Because I would have been more impressed. But at the same time, the fake out was equally like, oh wow, okay. Like, I was irritated. I was laughing. Like, excuse me, you need to put in that clip for the death of Stalin with Zukov. Like, I'm smiling, but I'm pretty fucking furious. It's like, you can't be serious, man. You can't do this twice. You can't kill the same character twice from anime disease. You just can't do that. Like, so, look. I mean, as I said, I watched a baseball show that was a very good slice of life high school drama. But I was watching a baseball show where there was an entire season of anime with no baseball in it. That's my review.
What a review.
But yeah, next one we won't have any problems, I don't think, because the next one is absolutely off the chain.
Giant killing, no. Giant killing will be very predominantly focused on there's quite a lot of games. It's not romance heavy or romance at all. I'm not up to date on the manga.
All football all the time.
It's all football all the time.
All the football. Watch the football. Look, the football. It moves. It's over there. Watch the football. Football. Yeah.
And we will be bringing you more sports from there. We will let you know after the next episode what sports we decide to do next. Will it be Haikyuu or will it be something else?
Actually, no, we're gonna have to leave golf waifus till the end because
you have to wait for season 2 to finish.
Yeah, like what episodes? We're on episode 4 of Birdie Wing, so we have 8 weeks of sports anime, boys and girls, and variations.
That's almost the whole. Literally almost. Yeah, we're working in the season. Let's go.
Summer of sport. It's gonna be hype, guys. It's gonna be hype.
Your best bet. Alrighty. You can find us on Spotify. You can find us on pretty much any podcasting app that will let you find us.
YouTube Music, YouTube.
I don't know if you can find us on YouTube Music. I guess you can find us on YouTube Music because of the way YouTube Music works. So yeah, you can watch us on YouTube Music if you so choose.
Orange Hub.
You can try and find my account to follow me on Twitter, but I wouldn't rate your chances highly on that. Anything else?
Subscribe to Animarchy History for memes.
Yeah, do that.
Inflate my ego and my sub count. Although, let's be real, if you're watching this channel, you're almost certainly coming from my channel, so thank you for watching.
And I think that about says it.
Yeah. If he's lost his voice, he's fucked.
I'm running out of steam here, folks. We've been talking for an hour and technically longer than an hour and a half straight because we recorded the other bumper earlier.
Yep.
Oh, all right. We will talk to you again very soon, my friends.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em, know when to walk away, and know when to run. You never count your money when you're sitting at the table. There'll be time enough